In honor of the Halloween sequel coming out this weekend, I thought I'd go back and review the original horror classic. So, without further ado, Halloween was released in 1978 and was directed by John Carpenter. The movie is about a 6-year-old boy who, on a Halloween night, mysteriously and without no motive, kills his sister with a knife. He is sent to a mental institution, and 15 years later, he breaks out to wreak havoc on another Halloween night. Before I say much about this movie, I want to mention how awesome the theme song is. The Halloween theme song just goes so synonymously with Michael Myers now. You hear that, and you instantly are, first of all, your heart's probably pumping a little bit faster, but you're instantly picturing Michael Myers standing in front of you, or behind you, most likely, with a knife. This movie was very influential in several ways. For one, it features an original, iconic horror villain, which in the 80s you saw a lot of those come to light. It left the viewer with an ambiguous ending. Also, one with possible supernatural elements. Also, the protagonist of the film is a teenager, which today we see that in almost all horror movies in some regard, but that wasn't always the case. The point of view camera was also very influential. Today we see that in a lot of horror movies, but it wasn't always so common. And Halloween wasn't the first to use this, but it did it so effectively and iconically that it deserves some influence credit. I really appreciate John Carpenter not showing us Michael Myers' masked face throughout most of the movie. We don't really get a close-up of Michael Myers' masked face until over halfway through the movie. And it's freaky. And that's because he lets the viewer build up suspense in their own mind. And you don't see that in many modern horror movies today, which is a shame because true fear comes from the mind. So some of the cons I had through the movie include that I was actually kind of bored throughout. Even in the third act, which is supposed to be the most intense and the most exciting. Things just play out kind of slowly. Characters take a while to realize what's going on and to actually take action about it. I feel like a lot of what the viewer is shown is just kind of like meandering around. That's probably my biggest complaint with it, and I actually can't even hold it against the movie, because audiences at the time probably weren't bored with the movie. They weren't so enamored with more fast-paced horror movies like what we get today. So for the time it was made, it probably wasn't a boring movie at all, so I'm not going to hold that against the movie in any way. Another problem I had with the movie is one that is kind of typical for horror movies. It's kind of just a stereotype now, and that's that the characters make ridiculously stupid decisions. In the beginning of the movie, there's a lady driving a van when an escaped mental asylum patient jumps on top of the van and slaps his hand on her window. So then she proceeds to roll down the window. Like, who in their right mind would do this? I don't know anyone who could possibly think that's a safe idea. So yeah, there were several dumb instances like that in the movie that are just so ridiculous. It almost takes you out of the movie a little bit. The other kind I had at the movie is kind of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, in the end, Michael Myers keeps getting stabbed, and then the audience is led to believe he's dead. This happens twice, and he just gets back up. So the third time he's stabbed, I kind of just assumed he'd get back up again, even though it was supposed to be kind of a twist. It was still freaky, though. It was filmed very well, with Jamie Lee Curtis in the foreground, not facing Michael Myers, and him in the background, just going from his dead position to sitting up without making a sound. So it was freaky, and I don't really have a huge issue with it. Overall, I was entertained, even if the characters did make dumb decisions sometimes. So I'm going to give Halloween a 9 out of 10. It's a horror classic for a reason, guys. If you're a movie fan, go check out the original Halloween. I highly recommend it. What did you think of the original Halloween? And also, should I go see the new one? Let me know in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for my next review.